Well, let's cross over to Brian, who's at the Philanthropy Ireland Forum in Dublin, where these and other issues are being discussed. Brian.
Hello, Sharon. Welcome to the Conrad Hotel, where, as you say, the issues in Samantha's report there will be considered this evening, and where the keynote speaker is former US President Bill Clinton. And President Clinton has taken some time out before he speaks to join us here to speak to us on 6-1. Mr. President, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us on the programme. First of all, perhaps we should explain to your viewers why you've been invited here to address this issue of philanthropy, because since you left the White House, it's been a central issue for you, hasn't it, in your activities as an ex-president?
Yes, and really in three ways. I try to help philanthropies in America and around the world who are stepping into the gap between what the government can provide and the private sector produces. That's what most philanthropic work is in Europe and the US. Secondly, when some terrible event occurs and emergency response is required and there's no way the public funds will cover it, we need to support that. And then thirdly, there's the work that, my foundation does. We try to figure out how to solve problems, mostly in developing countries, with the support of the Irish government, I might add, often, faster and at less cost. And so all this is really important, and it's very important to Ireland, and it will be for the next, especially important for the next several years, as you try to heal the worst wounds of that awful financial crash. And you're just coming out of it now. But the GDP of the country will grow more than the incomes and job numbers will in the first years. It always happens after a financial crisis. And philanthropy, therefore, will be very important.
Right. So a lot of the work of your foundation, as I understand it, is matching need in countries around the world with people who have the wealth to be able to devote to that. So you're knocking on doors and making phone calls, and presumably when Bill Clinton calls, people take the call. So you're able to use those contacts and that leverage.
And that's why we have the meeting in New York at the opening of the UN every year at the Clinton Global Initiative. I bring people who have money, governments, philanthropists, businesses, together with the organizations that need money, and they agree on what they're going to do. It's kind of like a marketplace, a network, where the givers and the people that provide whatever gifts to ordinary people in need get together. It's worked pretty well.
So here's the question. Why do individuals or corporations give? I mean, is it an element of guilt? Are they looking for some kind of redemption? Do they see a self-interest from their own point of view? Is it good publicity? What are the motivations for them?
Well, it's different in different places, I think. There may be some people who do it because they get good publicity, but by and large, they give for two reasons. They give because they feel personally, morally required to do so. Almost every major religious faith has some explicit requirement that those of us who are more fortunate should give some percentage of our income to help the poor and the needy. Then I think there are increasing numbers of businesses who realize that an excessive concentration of wealth and a wide number of poor people is a huge constraint on growth. That is, the businesses do better if there are more people in the circle of opportunity. And so they increasingly are giving to create a better economy. That is, yes, it's a good, noble thing to do, but it's also in their interest to have an economy that's growing at the grassroots level so there are more consumers for whatever it is they produce.
There's a long tradition of this in the United States. I mean, Andrew Carnegie, people know him from the libraries, the Carnegie Libraries. I think he was the man who said that if you die rich, you die in disgrace. So there was a very strong moral imperative for individuals like that. So is this essentially an American idea, really, which you're...
No, but it also, it's not just, you'd be amazed, there's also a deep tradition in America for non-rich people doing it and giving time as well as money. For example, our first non-governmental organization that had nothing to do with any kind of religious institution was the volunteer fire department in Philadelphia that Benjamin Franklin organized before the Constitution came into being. And Alexis de Tocqueville, when he came in the 1830s, said, when the government doesn't do something in America, they just get together and figure out how to solve it. So this has a deep history in the United States, but increasingly it's going across the world because every society has emergencies, has permanent gaps between what the public and private sector can do, and needs to solve problems.